Well, hello everybody. I know. It's lovely Friday. And I think most of the Americanos are sleeping. And nice to see you, Aussies. Yay. And whoever's going to join us now and later on, welcome and thank you so much. So, yeah, this is just a chilled out show where I get on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. We hang out with some tea and some chai or whatever your beverage of choice is, wherever in the world you are. And I just want to talk about stuff that I saw this week that came up on my newsfeed. So, yeah, we've got some interesting, actually, two interesting ones that popped up this week. And we're just going to touch on it, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it as well. And is that Mama? Anna? Wonderful morning, everybody. And really good to see you all in the chat. So, welcome. Nice to see you. Hello, Mama. There's my yoga buddy. I overslept this morning. But anyway, we made it. We made it. We did 109. Wonderful. Anyway, so, but before we go any further, I think we have a Spooky 2. Yeah, so for those of you, this is Spooky 2 Black Friday month deal. So, we all support Spooky 2 on this channel. They create home rife machines, as I call it, frequency medicine. You get them in all different shapes and sizes, little ones, much larger ones. Really an amazing product. So you're welcome to click on the link with all the details below in the description area as well. Try out the Spooky 2 and yeah, speak to somebody there if you're a little bit confused as to which one to get or what exactly you're looking for. But really an amazing product. So as I said, they are on Black Friday deal for the whole month, which means you get less 10% on any of the spooky machines that you wish to purchase. So I'm just going to pop up the ad for a few seconds. So there's your opportunity to grab yourself a home rife machine. And from my experience with them, I've used the little ones. Really, really, really an amazing product. Works for a lot of things and just harmonizes the energy field. And that's an amazing thing. So, welcome everybody. Nice to see you all. Anyway, so this week, as I said, I like to check out things that have popped up on my news feed and discuss some of them. And I'd love to get some of your feedback if you're happy to do that. But the first one, of course, we're going to be looking at, and these are actually literally the reels from other channels that I'm literally going to pop up as is. We're going to credit where they come from or what the channel is. So go and give them a like, a follow, and what have you. There's some amazing people out there at the moment, I've got to tell you, who are coming up with some incredible information. Guys, this really is the time of such discernment. We are in such a squashy, energetic time. So we really have to know our wits about us. And yeah, who is speaking truth and who's trying to hoodwink us and pull the wool over our eyes. But anyway, so the first one we're going to be looking at is the 1962 actually Alcatraz escape. Right, there were three prisoners that on the 11th of June 1962, Frank Morris, Clarence Anglin, and John Anglin, and who supposedly escaped. However, their bodies had never been found. The official narrative says they were drowned, and but the myth, of course, says otherwise. So now we are getting more and more evidence lately that these guys were actually used in the original moon landing. But let's have a look at the little clip and we can have a chat about it afterwards. Cheers.
Absolutely none of the NASA worshippers are ready for this one. So in 1962, 3 men escaped from Alcatraz without a trace, completely vanished from one of the highest security and hardest to escape prisons in America. They just gone. And then 7 years later, these 3 men land on the moon, stepping onto the world stage. Now, is it just me, or do these faces look eerily similar? Maybe you guys don't see it yet, but let me show you. Here are the 3 escapees from Alcatraz prison that got away with life vests, apparently. And here's the 3 men that landed on the moon: Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, and Neil Armstrong. They couldn't possibly all be a match, right? They couldn't all be the same people. Let's start with Neil, though. Let's see the overlay on Neil here. Whoa. Damn. That is shockingly the exact same facial features. What a striking coincidence. Have a look at Michael Collins now. Damn. I mean, maybe the nose. Nope, it's looking. Whoa. Yeah. Very interesting stuff, guys. Again, entertainment purposes only here. This is strictly for entertainment. Let's have a look at Buzz Aldrin here. The guy that says that we never went to the moon, by the way. He won't admit it. He says that we never went. Let's overlay the face. Damn. You know when children ask him why we haven't been to the moon, and he's like, because we didn't go. We haven't gone to the moon. And here these men are, heroes, still standing vindicated. But the eyes are useless when the mind is blind. NASA believers. Bah, bah.
The eyes are useless when the mind is blind. I find that so interesting because what we're realizing, what we're seeing more and more, right? And when we're looking at those overlays, there are certain things that are irrefutable. And more we're getting people, really good people. And we're going to see with the next one now as well. Really good people who really know their stuff when it comes to this. There's no doubt. There's nothing better than internet sleuths, right? And there's some really good sleuths out there, that's for sure. But we know, and I'm just going to look at some stats here as well. When we go back, for example, to the Cold War, we know that there was a lot of black ops recruitment, right? So there was the US military routinely scouted prisoners, orphans, foster children, untraceables. We know that. We've been looking with them we've been dealing with survivors, and especially more recently on this channel with the Montauk survivors, right? So we understand, and Penny Bradley said something extremely interesting to me in our last interview. And if you guys haven't caught my interviews with Penny Bradley, I mean, she's amazing. And she said, when it comes to human trafficking, it's not just on Earth that they traffic. A lot of the trafficking occurs to off-worldly places where humans are actually used as slaves and tested on for various different reasons. Yeah, our people, literally, they've sold us out to be experimented on. And that, I mean, Penny Bradley is probably one of the most coherent survivors of secret space programs that I've listened to. I'm not saying she's the only one. I'm sure there are amazing people out there, but I really want to say she explains things so beautifully. So it helps us to understand, when we're listening to someone who's actually been there, done that, and then we actually seeing these stories, that helps us to connect the dots. And that helps us to understand that these things aren't so freaking far-fetched after all. You know, there have been horrific atrocities that have occurred over the past centuries, decades, millennia. Horrific. And only now are these things coming to the fore. And for most of us, it's unbelievable that this stuff goes down. But yet we have to admit that it does. And when we're looking at those overlay pictures, certain things are irrefutable. And we're going to see more and more, like obviously the ears. We see more how this recycling happens, right? And like suddenly, one that was so obvious that I haven't put on now, for example, was George Clooney and Cary Grant. I mean, they've got the same face markings, like there might have been a birthmark in a prior life, has now been removed, but now the scar is still there. So there's certain things that can never, hairline, lips, eye shape. And although the eye shape can definitely be changed, I mean, surgery can change so much, but it cannot change everything. And that's what we're seeing more and more. And this is why I want to do more and more of these shows, because I'm not the expert when it comes to a lot of things. But what I'd like to do is put it out there so we can see and follow these guys, right? Because they really are amazing people who are showing us these things. Okay, so let's just look at this here as well. In certain alternate research, Montag, MyLab, Solar Warden Project, Pegasus Law, you hear claims that the US had covert aerospace craft operating in the 1960s, 1950s, and 60s. These crafts use rudimentary gravity cancellation, not rockets, right? Test flights needed expendable or non-existent personnel. Convicted men with high IQ or physical resilience were often chosen. We know this from the prisons. So we know that these experiments are conducted. Prisons, hospitals, psych wards. Those are the three main places where they get these vulnerable people, right? So then they, in my opinion, that's when they start finding Montauk is well known for getting street kids and doing horrific tests on street kids. A lot of street kids have been speaking up about Montauk, turning them into prostitutes, turning them into spies for the CIA, stuff like that. So that's just on the ground, right? Never mind sitting on that chair and how many kids have been through fatal experiments, killing them, traumatizing people who are now adults, right? At the time, kids. And then we wonder why our world is so screwed up. Because honestly, so much of this has been going on. And it freaking annoys me when I see more and more what of this stuff has really been going on. Frank Morris, according to prison folklore, had an unusually high measured IQ, reportedly 130 plus, escape genius level cognitive skills, emotional detachment, and risk tolerance. All traits, the myth says, made him useful. Right? So, what they're saying now is that they never drowned, but they were transferred, right, to a classified airfield, usually said to be Wright-Patterson, Edwards, a desert base linked to Groom Lake. So what they're saying is these prisoners were taken, they didn't escape, but they were extracted by the military and taken to maybe one or all of these Air Force bases, and they were offered commuted sentences in exchange for becoming test subjects. How interesting. The myth says their role was not as astronauts, but as human guinea pigs. Think about that. Think about that. And that makes such perfect sense. these guys were used as guinea pigs and not these highfalutin astronauts. I mean, you see these pictures of these guys coming back from 40 days or whatever it was in space with buzz cut hairstyle. Hello? Gotta be kidding. Your hair grows, or doesn't it grow in space? I don't know. We've got to be told these things by the real people that have been going there. Anyway, okay, the myth says that there was not as guinea pigs for high altitude craft, early anti-gravity platforms, right? Long duration sealed environment tests. So these guys were actually being tested on. Man. And that is why it makes, again, sense to me that Buzz Aldrin will stubbornly not admit to going to the moon and saying he never landed on the moon. Buzz Aldrin, I mean, that's documented. That's not me speculating. That's been out there for a while, that Buzz Aldrin has pretty much said that they've never landed on the moon. So let's see. Some say they were placed on the very first covert lunar reconnaissance mission in, well, moon landing, 1962 to 1963, a year or more before the Apollo program went public. This ties into other myths about the real first moon landing was not Apollo, right? The moon was scouted secretly before the televised missions, or was it? NASA was the public cover for a deeper black budget aerospace group. And why the myth persisted and the story remained alive, the escape was never solved. Okay, the bodies were never found. Letters surfaced allegedly from one of the Anglin brothers in later years. The government still classifies certain Alcatraz era files. Early space program archives remain partially sealed, and people involved in black aerospace programs often later said we were 10 to 30 years ahead of public tech. So pretty much the conclusion is the US needed deniable human subjects for an extremely dangerous early moon test. Escaped prisoners would therefore be the perfect candidates. Nice, huh? So yeah, so basically how the myth connects to the Montauk, because I've really been looking at that, because to me that's connected to Montauk. So it's kind of the same narrative as the Montauk Project, right? People kidnapped from vulnerable places, vulnerable people kidnapped from vulnerable places, right? Project Pegasus, MK style conscription, borrowed identity and code names, right? The idea that public history diverges from classified history. It also mirrors patterns survivors describe as people being declared dead, but actually used. We're going to see more and more of that, and we are seeing more and more of that now as well. Men and women taken from prisons, hospitals, orphanages. We've been seeing a lot of that on this channel already. And all that's happening now is we're seeing it more. Guys, remember when we started 5 years ago, the very first show we did on ARA was literally with Jessie talking about the decapitation of her proctor. So we came in hitting hard. We really did. So we are used to these topics. The rest of the world, in many instances, is only waking up to a lot of this now, right? So we're aware that, hospitals, we know that babies have been stolen for organ harvesting, for trafficking, for whatever it is they're doing, right? Adoption. Men and women taken from every other place as well, and early space experiments done with unrecorded personnel. That, if we're looking at some of those movies and stuff that we see, right? When you see this type of theme, kids being kidnapped and what have you, and adults doing terrible things to them, it's generally unsupervised and unrecorded. You're always hearing about that. So I think it's so important that we can actually take a look at, what's really going on here. And it's interesting because the next one, we're going to be looking as well at something similar, how they're hiding, what the movie Borat was actually looking and hiding from us. But yeah, interesting. So I'd love to hear you guys' feedback in the meantime. So grab your tea, grab your chai or your beverage of choice, and hydrate. Whatever you're doing. Oh man, yeah, I think they're definitely.
I don't think you're ready for what I'm.
Yeah, sorry, Harry. I just think they. You have to be so depraved. Think about actually sacrificing a baby and eating it. There's something so fundamentally wrong in your mind. You're so sick in your mind that you're doing that. And that is such a projection of your own sickness and your own unhealed wounds that you carry within your own being, within your own energy, within your own system, within your own heart, within your own body, mind, spirit complex. And that is unfortunately typical projection, because that is what projection is. It's really projecting what you perceive about someone or something or a situation, and you applying your thought process to it. So that was done to them. That was all they ever saw, and that's all they ever know. And unfortunately, many of them have carried on down that dark path, although I am of the full belief that they didn't always start out on the dark path. These were souls that have been corrupted. But I'm a great believer in alchemy, spiritual alchemy. That which has been corrupted can be uncorrupted as well. We transform the lead into gold. Anyway, let's look at the next one.
I don't think you're ready for what I'm about to present in this video. I really don't think you're ready for what I'm about to present in this video. And it all starts in the most unlikely of places. A place they want us to think is nothing but a third world wasteland. But in reality, it's a place fit for a king. Well, maybe not a king, but definitely an angel. 200, as a matter of fact. 200 fallen angels. And while they create propaganda like Borat to keep us from knowing who actually lives here and what this place actually is, I figured it out. I figured out that the top of their pyramid just happens to have a secret meeting chamber with exactly 200 perfectly aligned seats. 200 perfectly aligned seats that just perfectly matches the amount of fallen angels talked about in the Book of Enoch. 200 that just almost perfectly matches the amount of impact craters that, I don't know, could have been caused from heavenly bodies crashing down to Earth. Heavenly bodies whose leader just happens to also be called Lucifer, or the lightbearer. The lightbearer whose torch is often celebrated across all of the large cities of the world, and whose torch who is oddly placed next to a giant Easter egg. An Easter egg that might actually reveal why eggs are associated with Ishtar, because Easter was originally the celebration of Ishtar, the Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. And maybe this city is also hiding the free energy that they're using because I've seen these exact buildings associated with the old dirigibles that used to charge from them. But we haven't even talked about the most interesting thing that I found in this city called Astana, which just happens to be an anagram for the word Satan, and it's just down the road from this pyramid. Or should I say, right down the river from this pyramid. And I'm going to take this time and say, all of this is pure speculation. Obviously, there could be other stories here, but too many of them line up to me. Way too many of them. Especially when you see what I found here. And it's what I started this video with. You look at this, and you tell me that doesn't look like some sort of portal. A portal that they might just be using to try to summon some real evil to this place we live. Or maybe even just a prop to propagate their fake summoning of the return of Jesus as a hologram. All I know is there's one thing I definitely know in all of this, is that this movie was created with intention to tell a vision of what this place actually is. Because I would put my money on it that 99% of you have never heard of the city in Kazakhstan called Astana. But you guys know I'm just kidding about all this. I don't really think 200 fallen angels are the actual controllers of this place we live. That's just silly. And I definitely don't think they build an egg and a light-bearing torch to worship anybody. Totally not. You guys know I just love to entertain you and create these fairy tales and stories of evil versus good that they don't really exist. I don't really believe in Satan and Lucifer and all the fallen angels.
Wow, how interesting. So, the first thing that brings to my mind is, again, when we're looking at diversion and deception, it's so important to recognize that obviously we are governed by, is it the 200 fallen ones that have just kind of produced and reproduced and mass produced since then? But how they choose to divert our attention, and I will, as a South African, I will absolutely identify with that. It's the way they've made people think on so many levels that this continent is such a shithole, which it's far from. But that's really how they keep guzzling our resources. And that's how they keep stealing. And that's how they keep, that's how they keep the local indigenous people under control, right? With power, money, resources like that. So, but forgetting that, for example, when we're looking at the local African people, the African person is a strong person built to work with the land and has an amazing energy and essence that connect to the land, which would be, no doubt in my mind, one of the reasons they've turned this country's people into their own slaves. And I see how they are doing that in this, when we're looking at the Kazakhstan story now as well. I have just got a few just pictures that are just popping up, and as we go along, because there's a couple of stats as well. So this is Astana. Interesting, right? And then, of course, we can see here, we're looking at the pyramid there, and just the formation. I mean, these are star forts from the ancient times, if we really look at this. And if we're looking at this, what are they hiding? We understand completely that there's a lot of symbolism. If we look at the shows we've been doing with Jesse not recently, in the last couple of years, there's a lot of symbolism that points to what this sort of stuff is about. Obviously, there'd be a lot of rituals and stuff going on as well at these places. Very, very interesting, that. And yeah, of course, look at this here, just more of a close-up again. And that I find super interesting. Again, the 62 meters, right? 62, the pyramid-shaped building, 62 meter high, and a base of 62 by 62. So you got to know it's built with precision. and the Palace of Peace and Reconciliation. And what this actually looks like to me, and I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in and give your opinion, yeah. And of course, here's the place where the 200 seats are. Perfect circle. And we were speaking to, for those of you who I think it was a membership show with Gary Wayne, spoke about the circle and the wheels. Of course, the circle is a super powerful. It's unity, right? It's completion when you're looking at it through God's eyes. So they would have taken that circle and again inverted it, turned it into a wheel, a portal, a door of sorts where they can access power. And we're looking at that there again, those 200 seats. Yeah, and this again is just some of the craters, right, that he was talking about. And you guys are welcome just to go check that out again. These are more just some of the pics from then again. Lucifer the Lightbearer, look at that. I actually watched something this week as well, which is not on here, but it shows you like literally what, when the Statue of Liberty, what it's actually as it's breaking out of the chains. It's not what we've been taught at all or learned about at all. Okay, here's the Beta Tower. Now, my word, if you just look at that symbolism inside, spirals, arches, I mean, that's definitely some type of sun worship going on in there. That to me is not even a question, that they would be using that for that. And there again, you were speaking about Ishtar, Easter, right? And yeah, there we go. Astana, Satan, so now we know. now that we know kind of like what happens when people are, sorry, I'll just catch up on any of the comments here because I didn't see any of the comments, sorry, while I was going through that. Now, not only that, guys, Kazakhstan is the country where it has some of the greatest giant mythology as well. Okay, now I know that from doing our shows in the past with Caleb Jade, we spoke about that, and I hope my tablet doesn't die now because it's threatening to. And so what I want to just go through here is also, I don't think it's just that it's built on some very, very sacred ground there, right? Which is why they would have had all these buildings and things that are built with all this amazing geometry and beauty. I mean, they're obviously keeping or trying to keep people out there, right? Again, with that movie Borat, right? So I want to just go through some of the stuff here about Kazakhstan. These are actually points that have been documented and recorded. The ancient nomadic cultures with unusually tall warriors. Kazakhstan was home to the Scythians, the Saka, the Massagetæ. Oh no, that's my tablet that has just died a horrible death. But just hang on, give me a moment. It's on my phone here as well. Just give me a moment. Sorry. But not only that, sorry, while I'm trying to, here we go. Also, epic myths of giant ancestors and sky beings in Tengri cultures, right? So the question is why, my question to this is why are they hiding all this? So there's obviously a lot of ancient lineages there, right? That is very, very significant. There's esoteric symbolism embedded in each and every one of those buildings and sites that we're seeing in Astana, aka Satan, right? Political neutrality and spiritual heritage equals a perfect place for quiet experiments. It's easier to hide sacred or strategic places behind ridicule. Exactly. So that's exactly what I'm saying. The places that they have told us are least attractive to go to. The cultures they've told us are the least attractive cultures. Those are the places and cultures we really should be investigating. Because I cannot stress enough, as someone who's grown up in a third world country, I cannot tell you how frustrating it's been for me and my fellow countrymen and women to perceive or to realize the perception that the rest of the world has actually had about us and our country. It's been so far off the mark in most instances. But what I do say is that now that I've understood why they are doing that, it makes a lot more sense that they do that. Because these are the places they don't want you to go to. They don't want you to understand the heritage, the culture, or mostly what people hear about Africa is evil witch doctors. Sure, they exist, but there's a whole bunch of amazing people as well. Much more than the evil witch doctors, for example. That's the point I'm making. And when we're looking at Kazakhstan, I mean, look at what's going on there. I mean, the military guys, that's where they were sent to hunt giants, right? Some of the giant hunting documentaries I've listened to have come from that area. In fact, Caleb Jade, who was a guest on this show, he spoke about that as well. He spoke about hunting giants in Kazakhstan. That's where they were sent to, part of their shadow military ops. So also spoke about the fact that, there was an agreement in certain areas, like that the giants had to eat, the giants had to feed. So what were they fed? Kids. And what kind of kids? Young girls, usually girls, because women have no value in those areas. Ask yourself why. I mean, why is it that in that area, in that cult, right? Yes, it is the city of the fallen angels. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And then ask yourself why they would specifically be feeding young girls to the giants, right? So let's just look at some of the architecture there again. The Beta Tower, that represents the world tree connecting heaven and earth. So as above, so below. And again, that is corruptible knowledge, because they've taken the knowledge from the heavens, original knowledge from God, and they've corrupted it. It is as above, so below as well, on the other side of that. But we have to understand the other side of that, right? Golden sphere, a golden sphere at the top equals the sun, the all-seeing solar deity. Exactly. Worship of the sun. Why do they worship the sun so much? Because the sun is a physical representation, let's look at it like this, of what your soul might look like, right? If you could see with X-ray or invisible eyes, every person's soul, in my opinion, looks like a radiating, beautiful sun. So that is the essence of you, that is God. We are created in the image of God, right? So why are they doing that? Because they've lost their own essence. They've lost their own God spark. They haven't lost it. No one is ever losing it. It's just been so shut down, packed away, that they now have to seek that power external to themselves. Guys, this is what I want to show you with symbolism, because symbolism is not evil. And this is what I'm doing on Solutions with Chanti. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm doing a whole series, and in future, a lot of the shows are going to be related with this type of understanding, how to reclaim back our symbols, how to reclaim back our spiritual gifts without being taught or told they're evil or bad, right? Everything is not evil or bad. Everything that the Cabal or the occult has done is taken God's natural gifts to us that are contained within our own being, in our own body, and corrupted it and weaponized it. So I'm on a path to show you how to reclaim that which is naturally ours, and authentically and spiritually, and our God-given gifts. So that's what we're doing here. That's why they worship the sun. It's an external projection of what they are lacking within themselves. So when we start understanding it like that, we can start understanding how the Cabal thinks. We can start understanding their deepest fears and their deepest pains. Because when we understand, when we seek to understand, that's when healing occurs. Healing for yourself, for the planet, for everyone, right? We all find that resonance again when we understand these things. That's why they do it. Their own fear is so great of not having light. That's why. Symbolizes cosmic rebirth and the egg of creation. Now again, do you really have to have a huge, massive statue symbolizing what we already know? We are created, right, cosmically from the seed or the thought of God, the spark of God. We know this. So we don't need to have an egg and a what have you declaring that and doing external worship to that. We know inwardly we are created from that, from the God spark, the light of God. And when you know that, you don't need to make that type of ritual, tortury, yes, that's what they do, sex magic, corruption, abuse, all the things they are feeling within when they are doing these horrific rituals and sacrifices and the vampirish practices on another is their own unhealed wounds. Let's understand that. I'm not saying you've got to be okay with that. I'm saying you've got to understand why people do what they do. When we understand why, we can then change things within ourselves of how to deal with that. That's what I'm trying to show us here. Okay, the Pyramid of Peace and Reconciliation, designed by Norman Foster. Can someone tell me who Norman Foster is, please? Perfect 62-meter pyramid, a clear esoteric beacon. Pyramids represent ascension, divine authority, and ritual amplification. Again, sacred geometry, non-physical sacred geometry that exists within our energy field, is part of it is shaped like a pyramid in your non-physical energy field. Your non-physical geometry, part of it is shaped like a pyramid. I repeat that many times because I want you guys to understand why the pyramid is such a powerful symbol for them. Again, they've lost and forgotten that which is within, so they project and externalize it and create it in the physical. And when they create it in the physical, they adorn it and they worship it like it's their God. They really believe it's their God, and it's not. Your God lives in your heart. Your God, who is your creator, lives within your heart and lives within sacred shapes and forms and sacred geometry that makes up the essence of your soul. I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. I really do. That's very important to make that distinction. Okay. The presidential palace and government district, laid out on a Masonic compass and square axis. Of course it is. Streets radiate like spokes of a solar seal. Of course it does. They worship the sun. Government buildings form geometric grids visible only from above. Of course they do. Star forts, right? No doubt it's probably built on a star fort. So they've absolutely just mimicked that or cloned that, if you will, in its physical form. The giant, or the Khan Shataya, or the giant tent, one of the world's largest tensile structures, symbolizes the ancient nomadic tent of heaven, right? A modern imitation of a cosmic womb or a portal again. Tent of heaven. Why do you need to put a tent of heaven on earth? You don't need to do that. The tent of heaven, or pyramid, right, is within you. It is your soul. And you know what's really beautiful is to know that your soul is actually not only in you, it's around you. Your soul actually envelops you like a beautiful golden egg. Actually, it's so much bigger than you. And when we realize that, we know who we are, because that's when we claim the resonance of our connection with God. It's really that. These guys will try anything external that is laid out there and to be worshipped. Churches, come on. Now we're going to churches. Should we really go there today? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll behave. I promise. I'll behave. City layout features, golden pathways, sun alignments, equinox geometry. Okay. Monument to monument lines, identical to ritual grids in Washington, D.C., the Vatican and Paris. Hello. All these lovely places that we know are not used for purposes of true light, Christ light. Let's call it Christ light. Okay. So basically, I'm saying Astana was not built accidentally, but very, very much symbolically. I believe it's probably one of the most powerful points on the earth. That's why they're keeping it obscured, right? Until some clever internet sleuths pick it up, and then we all go and shine some light, shine some light on it, right? Because now the more we know, the more we can actually understand. And guys, share that information, please. There's, as I said, the second guy, the Tyler is his name. I mean, that guy is phenomenal. When he starts also putting the faces together, and he claims, and he says, I was born with a gift. He says, I can recognize faces. He says, I see faces. He says, I'll see that face, and he says, I know I've seen that face before. And then he'll go back in the archives and he'll find the face that matches, and he shows you how it matches. And again, there are certain things that are irrefutable. We're not talking photoshopping. We're not talking AI. We're talking photo on photo, where you can see people's features that, if it's the same body, the same bone structure, there's certain things that are never going to actually disappear, are they? Anyway, Yay, Barbara! You're such a star-studded girl. Thank you, Barbara. Hey, how do I get you on here? I'm trying to get you on here, onto the screen, and it won't put you on. Morna, can Barbara get on the screen, please? There's Barbara now. Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate you. And I so appreciate the members and the patrons and you guys. Yeah, man, just everyone. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I hope I've at least given you some food for thought to go and maybe look into these things, because that's why we put it out there, right? To not disregard any. Guys, I think, as I said earlier, from me as someone that's grown up in a third world country, knowing full well we're not, what is third world anyway? What is third world? Is third world where you stay connected to the earth, where you are more rural, you're not in high-flying scraped buildings, whatever? Hey, then that's me. And I like it that way. I most definitely like it that way. So it is such an amazing opportunity, I think, just because I think for me to let you guys understand from a South African, it's not what you think. This third world narrative they keep pushing down your throats is bullshit. There's a lot of amazing sacred sites here, amazing people, sacred places, sacred portals on this continent. When you're looking at Nigeria, and we spoke about that briefly last week, right? You're looking at Nigeria and you're seeing how under siege they are right now, the Christians and the Muslims. Now, for the first time again, now here's another interesting bit of something I saw. Trump has said Cardi B, excuse me, effing Cardi B, probably one of the most MK Ultra people on the stage currently, to Nigeria to support the Christians. Hey, I'm all for supporting everyone. Any bloodshed, I don't give a rat's backside what religion or what faith you follow. This is all contrived. Nigeria sits on one of the planet's most important sacred sites. Ask yourself why everybody's fighting over Africa. Ask yourself why Africa is now starting to say screw you to the West. Hey, my pale face is probably going to get me kicked out of here as well one of these days. Who knows? I don't mind, actually. I'll go where I need to be. But my point is that what we've been taught, what we've been shown, is not true. We're seeing again with Kazakhstan, Astana. When we see what's going on there, and when we're understanding the giants that live there as well, what's going on? Yeah, a lot. So go and research, do some digging. And of course, I look forward to Beverly actually on Monday. We're going to be looking into vampirism again, because all of this recycling of people, movie stars then, or famous people then, movie stars now, we're seeing a huge trend of that. And that all has to do with vampirism as well. So join us on Monday on Aquarius Rising Africa at 6 p.m. Central Africa time. I do believe that is 11 a.m. Eastern time. So I think what I'm going to start doing now is I'll just give you guys the Eastern time. That makes it more doable for me, and I think it makes it more doable for you as well. And if you guys have not seen Beverly and my show yet on Solutions with Chanti, Spiritual Forensics. Please go check it out. And as well as, of course, the Ankara mini-series, because I'm really doing a mini-series helping us understand what the Ankara field is. And this is really where we're moving into coherence completely energetically, right? This is how we find coherence. So I'm explaining how it goes. And then, so we did a show, and with Spiritual Forensics, it's a show where Beverly and I are, again, reclaiming our spiritual gifts publicly. Absolutely. We've been Beverly has been using hers for a while. Me too, as well, but not so much publicly. But we're looking at old criminal cases and or current criminal cases, cold cases, whatever, and shining our light to see what's gone down there. Beverly is amazing because what she does is, and I've never ever seen anyone do this before, she looks at the aura of the person that we're examining or shining light on, and she reads the aura. And there's no more accurate way than to do that, I'll tell you that much, because then we can see what's happened, and she explains it beautifully. It's not just some quick fix, ooh, this. It's really, and we did the Menendez brothers on Tuesday. That, for some reason, has been something close to my heart ever since I read about it many years ago. And then, of course, a week before, we did Oscar Pistorius and Reva Steenkamp. Oscar was the Blade Runner, South Africa's genius athlete, double amputee Blade Runner who murdered his girlfriend on Valentine's Day in 2013. Very, very interesting. Very interesting, that one, for sure. Check it out, everybody. But before I go, of course, I always say I want to end off these shows because we do talk about some shitty topics. Where's that one now? Mornay, can you put it up, please?
I'm in America right now, and I just need to say to all Americans, it's croissant. It's croissant.
These people. I understand people saying, oh, it's not the right way to pronounce the word. And I know a lot of people will always say, no, you don't say croissant. You say croissant. Well, fuck. Because at the end of the day, if you're not from the country, you shouldn't say it. Because it's going to be weird. I'm Afrikaans. I'm not even English. So I'm Afrikaans. So I'm going to walk into a place and go, hi there, can I please have a croissant? Then, if I can have some champagne, le Dom Perignon. And, my car's outside. It is a Saint-Tron. No. Things differ in countries. Leave the people alone. There's a lot of things in the world to worry about. Then, get a new harbor. Okay, harbor.
I'm going to buy croissant now. Well, I had to have a giggle at that because, the book, The Ankara Field, is being published in French. And I always said, when my book gets published in a second language or a different language, I will learn that language. And I always thought it was going to be German. And German for me is not much of a problem because I spoke quite a bit of it. Hannes was an Austrian, so we spoke quite a bit of German. And yeah, I know a lot of German people. So I thought, German, not so difficult. But then, of course, it's French. Guys, I've been doing my own private French lessons. I have never in my life had so many issues trying to pronounce the word on in French. In English, it's on, right? And on. Okay, so hopefully you'll be hearing a few French words come out of my mouth one of these days so that I can be reading the Honeycomb Tales, Adventures of the Ankara Field in French. And Spanish, by the way, yes. It's coming out in French, English, French, Spanish, and German. And wait for it, Afrikaans. Yay! Monet is translating it into Afrikaans. Guys, I got to tell you, I laugh and laugh and laugh when I see it every time in Afrikaans because I can't imagine. I could never imagine speaking Afrikaans with this lingo. But anyway, we're going to be having lots of fun with kids across the world. Spanish, French, German, English, Afrikaans kids. We're all going to be reading the Ankara Field or Honeycomb Tales, Adventures of the Ankara Field. Yay! I'm going to go and buy a croissant. I'm not Swahili, hey. I'm gunning for Kosa. Kosa was the area in which I grew up, and where I live now is Kosa. Bongi is Kosa, so I think I might haul Bongi in to get me to translate the Ankara Field into Kosa as well. Swahili, I'm going to have to get someone in Swahili. Hey, anyone in Swahili out there want to translate? Yeah, we do it. So, guys, ching, ching, chang, chang, it's tea. I'm not spilling it, not anymore today. I spilled a lot the other day, all over my desk and my floor, literally and figuratively. But in the meantime, I want to say to you, have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend. I might not see you around on the weekend sometime. Yeah, maybe. But definitely back with you guys all on Monday. Take it easy. God bless you all. Have a fantastic time and stay cool.